Jerry Mallory here, SBNationPrivateTrade.com. The Lions won. We know that. We're all happy about it. They remain in first place. They're 4-2 with a tie with the Bears. We know the Packers had a bye week. The game has been discussed. We talked about Joseph Fourier. We talked about the fact that the Lions were down and they were resilient. The three keys to winning with or without Calvin, especially if Calvin did not play, came true. Calvin played, but had a much limited role. So those three keys were still needed. It was the fact that the offense was used to life without Calvin. The coaching staff would have another week to prepare and game plan with life without Calvin. And yes, the defense would have to step up, which they did in the second half. That's great. Here are a few other random thoughts about that game and a couple of random thoughts about the Bengals game until we look at that game a little bit further, a little bit deeper toward the end of the week. First off, it is Calvin Johnson. Guys, I think what we saw was a glimpse of the future of Calvin. It's the distant future. Under my calculations, a guy like Megatron will play for 17 years in the NFL. I know that's a very long time, especially for a skill position, but here's the reason why. He has a skill set. We know what it is. You can compare him to your Jerry Rices, to your Randy Mosses, to your Terrell Owens, Chad Johnson. He's superior athletically. He has the size, the speed. His route running has improved. But it comes a point in everyone's career where if they're no longer the fastest guy on the field, the most physically imposing, oftentimes these guys' careers end. Well, here's where Calvin is a little bit different. And as I look into the future, I see the last third of his career, we'll say about the last 4 to 5 years, he's going to be Muhsin Muhammed. That's what we saw from him in the game against the Browns. And that's not disrespecting Calvin. 12 years of Megatron, 5 years of an upgraded Muhsin Muhammed is great. What I mean by that is he'll lose some speed. He'll lose some jumping ability. He won't be the strongest, most physically imposing, athletic beast on the field after 13, 14 years. He'll almost be 40 years old. But he'll still have the size, meaning using it in the appropriate way, similar to a Muhsin Muhammed. Calvin has improved in his route running year after year. That'll still be there. His hands will still be there. And just the blocking ability, which for a top flight receiver, he has no problem mixing it up. All those things will still be there. So we'll still see a guy that will get you 50 to 60 to 70 catches in a season. He'll need someone alongside him, a Steve Smith, if you will. But that game, just seeing Calvin being bothered by the knee, so he's a little bit slower. He was more pedestrian, much more human than we're used to seeing. I start to think and say, man, the last 4 or 5 years of Calvin's career will still be very productive. But that's like 6, 7 years from now. We don't have to worry about that. We have the superhuman, ultra robot, transformer man, Calvin Johnson, that we can enjoy for the foreseeable future. Another quick note, Calvin not being Calvin has forced Stafford to go through his progressions. This is one of the big gripes we have about him. He looks one way, and that's where he's going. Not in this game. We saw a rear pump fake from him. We saw him moving his eyes around, looking at one receiver, looking off a guy. And this is something he has to adopt, I should say, and develop with or without a healthy Calvin Johnson. When you don't have that security blanket, you're forced to do things a little bit more precise because now the onus is on you to make the receivers better, which is what he did, a la Chris Durham. So you attach those good motives, those good habits with a healthy Calvin. If Chris Durham can continue to develop, Ogletree can get you a catch here or there. Burleson comes back healthy. Contributions from Reggie Bush, Mikael Ashore, Joique Bell. The end of this season, if we can get some help from everybody, could be scary. Last but not least, leave Corey Hilliard in on the offensive line. I don't care if Jason Fox is healthy or not. Case in point, first 3 to 4 games of the year, our offensive line held up really well. They were stout. We were talking about Warford being a Pro Bowler, Riley Reef being a Pro Bowler. Now, we can't blame Jason Fox starting the 5th game on the reason why the whole line kind of gave in, why Reef and everyone looked bad. But there is something to be said for cohesiveness. Being cohesive. Is cohesiveness a word? Not sure. There's something to be said, though, for an offensive line being cohesive. The same 5 guys. They're used to each other's strengths and weaknesses. Fox gets hurt again. Shocker. Between him and Danny Amendola, can they stay on the field for more than one game? I don't think so. talking about Amendola because, yes, I drafted him in 2 of my fantasy leagues, so I'm a little bit frustrated by him, but more so with Fox. Whether Fox can stay healthy or not is not as important. What is important is the line looked good with Hilliard at right tackle the first 4 games. Fox comes in, they look a little shaky. Hilliard comes in again for the 6th game, and the offensive line looks better again. I'm no mathematician, but it seems as though we should be keeping Hilliard at right tackle. No matter what happens to Jason Fox, healthy or not, keep the offensive line unit cohesive, together, the same 5 guys, barring extremely poor play, or, which we never want to see, an injury. Now, last but not least, the Bengals, just some quick hits. Now, we'll go way, way back about 4 or 5 weeks ago. This is the team I picked in the AFC to represent for the Super Bowl. They're 4-2. They have not looked as good as I've imagined, but they're very dangerous. Yes, they have struggled on the road. That's fine. But any team that can hold the New England Patriots in check, whether at home or on the road, for my money, is a team we're going to have to really have our A game going. They have some stars on all sides of the field. You got your Geno Atkins on the defensive side, who's always ready to disrupt the pocket. And, a matchup with him versus potentially Raiola or that could be scary. Then obviously on offense, Giovanni Bernard, that's the new name. He's speedy. He has a knack for the end zone. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is solid. And yes, A.J. Green, arguably one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, not named Calvin Johnson. This is going to be a tough match. We're going to need the home crowd to really be strong. I wish I could be there. I won't. To be strong, to be loud. Maybe we can force a few false starts. Anything will help because this is a pivotal matchup against a really good team that will probably be playing late into December and into January. Yes, deep in the playoffs in the AFC. I'm not backing off of the Super Bowl prediction just yet, but I mean, it's hard to pick anyone to beat Denver at this point, but this is a team that's going to be there for the long haul. If we can get this win, we keep it moving. All right, guys, that's it. I'll be back later on this week where we will dissect and look with our magnifying glass, our microscope, a little bit closer at this matchup, Detroit Lions versus Cincinnati Bengals. Subscribe. Keep watching. Thanks for, as always, watching. And as always, this has been Jerry Mallory for SB Nation and PrivateTrade.com.